Ready?
Hi, Tokyo Tops! So, you guys always want to ask Andrew. You guys attack Andrew.
They attack me?
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah.
Why?
There was a comment saying that I still don't understand why, as a Canadian person, you want to.
I remember that comment. The old comment. Wow, that really stuck in your head.
I don't think it's a rude comment where it's not attacking anyone, but it's kind of like
passionate.
A little very passionate and aggressive.
Passionate.
Yeah. So people wanted to know, why do we choose Japan over our home country? And that comment said, oh, I understand why Japan is better than China, but I don't understand.
That's why it stuck in your head.
No, it's not. It's not. It's a very big topic. I think many people are curious why people come to Japan. And as a gay person, why do you choose Japan over Canada? Because for many Japanese people, they'd love to live in Canada, right? They'd love to enjoy the equal marriage, the advanced, understanding of LGBT as well.
So today we're going to talk about some reasons why we moved to Japan and live here instead of staying in our home countries.
Perfect.
Let's go.
I don't like it. It's very cheesy. Like, let's go. Like,
you don't like that? Let's go.
Let's go. I can't do cheesy stuff.
It's because you can't do this.
I can't snap.
That's why. So that's what it is.
I can't snap.
That's what it is.
Okay, so yes, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. Why, as a Canadian person, you want to live in Japan? Because
it's not an elephant in the room.
It's the elephant in the room. Because people, apparently you guys can understand why I live in Japan, not in China. So the elephant in the room is, why do you want to live in Japan as a Canadian? You saw that comment. What do you think he came from? Like, do you understand his point of view?
I think everyone has certain goals in their life, right? And depending on what these goals are, certain places might fit them better, certain situations might fit them better. I think people who tend to, maybe I'm making an assumption here, but like the person who left the comment on our video, they might have been approaching it from the fact that you can't get married here, or there's like not as much support for LGBT people, right? And we all know that is not the case in Canada. In Canada, we could have, you can have kids, you can get married, all that stuff, right? I think that Canada is amazing from those points of view. The thing about Canada for me is that those are not really my goals. I don't really see having kids in my life. So it doesn't affect me living in Japan where that's not possible. So I feel like a lot of those things are like that for me in Japan from a gay rights point of view. I would like to be in a relationship. I would like it to be very long, have a partner, but I don't, at my age and my dating experience in life, I'm not saying it for like boo-hoo me. I just don't think that that's such a reality that I'm gonna get somewhere soon where I'm gonna get married. So it doesn't matter, again, that I'm not able to do that here. And now flip that on the other side about what Japan offers. Japan offers an incredibly good standard of living when compared to Canada. So like, thinking about what I was able to do in Canada on very similar, I'm making similar amounts of money, and it goes significantly farther in Japan. Like, being in Canada, if I wanted to live in the cities that I wanted to live in, like Vancouver or Toronto, and I have lived in these cities, and I have to have roommates, even though I'm a single man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who's making a normal living.
But my question right here is, your salary, if you make the same amount of salary in Canada, in Toronto or Vancouver, that's considered on the lower end.
No.
That's still average?
I'd be able to survive, but it'd be tough. But yeah, once I get into, if you started having kids or this and that, or you wanted to like not only live on your own, but sort of like have fun and not, penny pinch, then it's a struggle. I think another thing as well is a lot of people want to be in nature and have space and quiet and the freshness of the air and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I come from a place which is super beautiful, and I understand that, but actually I get really excited by being in a really busy space, busy and alive and not sleeping. That's what energizes me so much about Tokyo, is literally any time of the day I can go somewhere. I can go down the Shibuya, I can go to Shinjuku. There's always life. It does not sleep. And that energizes me a lot. I do appreciate nature, but I think I like city life more. And Canada doesn't really have that much city life. It matches my lifestyle so much here. I think as well another thing is job opportunities. I find there are a lot of opportunities that we can't get. A lot of, more international sort of like companies, art, this and that, something that goes beyond government and tourism. Stuff like that tend to be focused in the States. If you have a European famous company that's going to make their base in North America, it's going to be in the States.
Yeah.
If it's the French branch, it'll be in Canada, which is great. But unfortunately, because I don't speak French, I don't have access to that. So a lot of the opportunities when I was in Canada, I had opportunities, of course, but they were in job areas that were not really exciting to me or interesting to me. And I could only find those jobs outside of Canada, such as when I was in England or in Japan. So I find like Japan has so much more opportunity along the lines of like the style of work I want to do and the lifestyle I want to live.
I see. So you're choosing Japan rather than staying in Canada not because you're gay, because you don't look at the gay life that importantly, but more like as a person.
Yeah.
Kind of like that's your answer.
Obviously, I would rather Canadian rules and acceptance be in Japan. But I feel like Japan's lack of gay rights and stuff like that are not so bad that it makes it impossible to live here. And I don't think that my goals, what I need from the gay rights movement at the moment, currently in my life, is not marriage or kids. I can live with the
not having that.
The medium level sort of gay rights that exist here.
Okay, so I have another question. But don't you feel like, even though you don't care about marriage or having kids, but like lots of people in Japan are in closet. So it's very hard for people to date. Like if there are smaller percentage of gay people compared to straight people, and also people who are open to date. So their percentage of dateable people are very limited here.
But I challenge you on that because I agree with that. But also, the whole population of Canada exists in Tokyo.
That's true. That's very true.
So that's how I also look at it too. Like, yes, I have a lower chance, but I have significantly much, like number game wise, yes.
Well, but only 10% are not in closet. 90% people are in closet. So
even like it's still incredibly amazing amount. That's the thing is just Canada. Of course, these are the things that are great about Canada is space and nature and all this stuff. But there are of course negatives to that. It's that that's the limited opportunities. The population can't support it. You need to learn how to do this being a bitchy gay.
I'm not bitchy. Maybe that's the reason why. I'm dramatic, but I'm not bitchy. So,
okay, let's talk about China.
Okay. I actually listed out things that I think are truly my concerns if I really have to go back to China. In China right now, there's a culture called 内卷, which means that it's a society that is super competitive, that everyone's trying very hard to make money climbing the social ladder, but because the society as a whole are trying so hard, so you trying hard doesn't really gonna help you. I have a very competitive personality, but I don't think my skill set can support me being competitive back in China.
Interesting.
Because there are so many people, I know like lots of people commenting that, oh, Meng is so smart that he can speak 3 different languages, but there are so many people in China can do the same thing, even speak more, and also like doing tech and doing have other skills. So I always feel very inferior compared to those truly talented people. Yeah, but like in Japan, I feel like there are very talented people, but I feel less anxious about how much I know or like my skill set. The second is, even though I'm like out to my family and out to my friends, but I'm not out to my relatives. Because coming out in China is still very, very difficult because the society encourage people to have children. Like regardless if you're gay or straight people, if you don't have children, it's very shameful. Like your relatives gonna constantly remind you, oh, why are you single? When are you gonna get married? When are you gonna have kids? So I'm really tired of that. And my parents actually warned me that I should never come out to any of my relatives because they you know, like coming out is not only my personal thing. I have to protect my family as well, and they may lose some, you know, connections. It's not only my thing, even though I can be super like just careless, you know, fuck you, fuck everyone, I just gonna be myself. But I have to think for my parents as well. So being in Japan, well, it doesn't really have to be Japan. Any foreign country
out of China.
Yeah, it's more liberal. I can feel more like I'm myself. Yeah. And also another one, I think it's related to my gay life because I wasn't popular in China. I would say I'm more popular in Japan compared to back in China. It doesn't represent, like, it's just my personal feeling, my personal experience. I'm stigmatized of being short, being not tall enough. There is even a phrase saying that if you're under 175 that you're not a man. So there is this kind of culture of like people admire height.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you want to call someone who is handsome, they have to be above 180. I have a real story.
Okay.
So there was a party when I was much younger. I wanted to join. I was like, oh, can I join it? But the guy replied that, oh, sorry, we actually only accept high quality gay. So,
okay, but this exists in Japan.
But see, that's not about height though. Nobody gonna reject you.
So you're just getting in with different credentials.
Yeah, this is about me, right? We're talking about why I personally choose, because the height culture in China is so strong
that you can't win against the height.
I can't win the game. I can't break my bones.
Sure.
Yes, there are some filtering in Japan as well. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's more like a face value or whatever, or body.
When you have stronger credentials there. Okay. All right.
So I feel like, to be honest, I'm a little bit more popular in Japan than in China.
I'm gonna say something a little bit controversial here.
Okay.
But if you are a top, your height would be called into question again, I think.
Well, luckily I'm a bottom.
Yeah. So.
And also, like, we talk about LGBT rights, right? So Japan's not that bad again. It's not that bad. Like, it's getting better, and we all know that this year they're trying to push partnership. It's not equal marriage, but it's sort of like a recognition of, you know, being gay.
It's another step.
Another step. So I feel like, yes, compared to China, which has zero recognition for gay people, Japan is a upgrade.
Yeah.
Right? It is an upgrade. I feel like the affordability, to be honest, like, this is just probably me bullshitting because I've never lived in China as an adult. But again, like, maybe back to my point one, it's very competitive. Like, the housing market is very competitive. Like, the real estate market is very expensive. Like, normal people with their salary, it's very hard to, afford housing in China as well. I feel the amount of money I'm making in Japan right now, the same level of the job I'm doing in China, I probably can't afford the same lifestyle that I'm having in Japan. So I do agree with Andrew that Tokyo is not expensive as you guys think. If you guys, there are comments always saying like, but Tokyo is so expensive, but I think it's like 30 years ago. Like, it's very outdated.
It's the same price as it was 30 years ago. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Is that everywhere else experienced a lot of inflation and huge jumps in prices, and here not so much.
But Tokyo is very affordable. I have never asked my parents for any money after I graduated from college. We, as a 30-something gay man living in Japan, like as a single person, we don't have kids or anything. Like, our money is enough for us to have a very comfortable space and have a lot of variety of entertainment that we can choose.
Exactly.
Right? That
we can't get at home.
Yeah, and also, like, you know what? Another thing is, like, I go to hospital all the time because I love going to the hospital, and the medication fees in Japan are really low.
They're quite low.
It's really low. It's very cheap. I just went today. It was like $10.
Here's something. Is our health system in Canada is similar to Japan, so we're very lucky that way on both sides. However, dental is not included in Canada's health system.
And in Japan it is.
So like, what the fuck? In general, Canadians just get it anyways because they get like an upgraded support insurance system when they get into a company. So pretty much everyone gets it in the end, but in your base level, it's not included.
Yeah.
So it's like stuff like that. Again, people will like look at Japan as like, oh, must be so expensive, must be so behind, this and that. Gay rights, pretty behind. But other things, I get dental.
Yeah.
So So this is why
We're in Japan.
and we're not going home.
We're not going home. Maybe we're in our small bubble, but these are our true feelings and experience.
And it might not be the same for you. But this is what it's like for us. So.
Yes.
So if you like these videos talking about gay life in Japan, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.